Good morning, my friends and relatives. It's Jace Poirier Lacerte here, your founder and vision keeper of the Family Stewardship Centre. Welcome to Moments with the Founder. This is our chance to monthly provide updates to our community about progress that we're making towards birthing the first Family Stewardship Centre on southern Vancouver Island. This also represents more or less a halfway mark through the year. Our wise council will gather today in celebration of the last 6 months of work together before we transition into the second part of the year following our harvest. There are so many things to provide updates on. I'm going to start first broadly by speaking about our partnerships. We've made three notable partners in this previous half of the year that are just so worthy of celebration. It's quite unbelievable to me that all three are aligned and working in this space together. They haven't connected yet, but that will come, I think, in the second part of the year. So first we'll start with the University of Victoria, specifically the Healthy Relationships Lab, led by Dr. Erica Wooden. They are working with us to begin a community-based research project funded by SHIRK to document Indigenous pathways to parenthood on southern Vancouver Island. I'm very proud of this, especially alongside the recent research published by UBC's maternal health team to say that, the experiences of Indigenous peoples are beyond harmful in the medical system. It's so nice to know that the Family Stewardship Centre is going to be publishing research that will speak to asset-based lens of looking at these experiences. We want to measure what's working well. We know harm exists. That's a lived experience for our people. So we don't need to continue to research that to make that true or valid. Instead, we'd rather invest in understanding what's working and what's working well and how can we do more of that. So that work is under review right now. We have our initial research questions and our strategies for engaging communities. And I'll be reviewing that in the next week, readying that for Erica and her team of student researchers there. So that's an incredible partnership. This means we're data informed from the very beginning. So we will talk with all of the families who've received family stewardship thus far and those that haven't as well. And we can compare those experiences against each other to learn what was most valuable from a family steward's perspective. This will directly inform the family stewardship professional certificate that we are establishing with Royal Roads University, our second major partner. We are so grateful to be stewarded by Zoe over at RRU to help us build the employment and training pathway to family stewardship. If we want this to be gainful employment, meaningful, sacred, and gainful, then bringing professionalism to this career is one way we can do that. So we're working on that professional certificate right now. Thank you to Mary for the instructional design work on this. Mary has been leading us to build out a competencies framework. That competencies framework has been tested and harvested against birth workers' lived experiences and their stories. Our last gathering as a wise council, we had tasks of family stewards pulled from our competencies framework, and we had birth workers tell stories related to those tasks, first to validate if those tasks are real and relevant to our training, but also to see if there are competencies or applications of those tasks that we aren't considering. What we really learned in that, especially because of listening to birth workers and putting them at the center of this design, we really recognized that family steward care and self-determination of family stewardship and making sure that stewarding is the job, not caregiving, so that we don't perpetuate like a martyr system or people giving more than they have to give and overexerting their capacity. That was really important. So how we govern family stewards, how we connect family stewards, how we make sure that they feel that they belong to a network of peer-based support and learning was really a big outcome of that. Second to that was learning that understanding the business of this work and how do we make money doing this work is something that isn't often provided in perinatal outreach care and a lot of vocational training. So making sure that that's baked into our curriculum was a big learning outcome. So we're super grateful to Royal Roads and Mary leading us through that instructional design and recognizing that there is a new profession that we can create from scratch. And there are people who are already well trained in these areas with some additional training could begin family stewardship. So we're also looking for what is that additional training that perinatal outreach providers who are already in the field could take that lets them feel like they're really caring for the whole family, that they're not leaving one of our relatives behind because of the nature of their current work. And how do we keep them in the profession where they can raise their fees and better aligned to their purpose by taking care of that whole family. So we're designing that training right now. We have a really beautiful new update to share that the Sacred Cradle House here in the Lekwungen speaking territory is a home for Indigenous mothers who are pregnant or early postpartum, who are facing houselessness, where they have a place to go and be cared for. The perinatal outreach workers there have not yet received training in Indigenous ways of being in this space. And so we're really excited to have them review our competencies framework so that they can decide which of the competencies they want to train their staff in. So we're kind of building something uniquely for them and asking how does that training get shared with wider communities of perinatal outreach providers. So very excited to be working with Pam Harris, the executive director of Sacred Cradle, to imagine this in real time for training that could deliver in September or October of this year. So we're already imagining what that looks like with frontline workers who are already working with mums who may not be able to come back to school for a full-time program, but who could do on the job training or asynchronous training online with us. So very excited to put that into play and to build some budgets. This gives us our first look at what could be revenue generating work for us in the second half of the year. So that's so exciting. So that's partner number 2, which has a sub partner in delivery with it. The third partner I want to speak about is Camosun College. So we've welcomed Michael onto our WISE Council. He'll meet with us in September when he returns back to work. Michael is a professor in the School of Socially Responsible Management. Those students will have the Family Stewardship Centre as a case study project for themselves this fall semester. And they will help build out our business model, understanding the lifetime value of a family steward and how might we break those costs down to families over what period or duration of time and in what format and what business model would best work for families. I'm really excited about that because that brings the professionalism and the gainful employment, and it stress tests the model because the folks building it represent the next generation of parents, and so what they see the value of and how much it should cost is really important to us getting ourselves a vocation that is gainful employment but also affordable to families, and if not affordable to families, then we can figure out how do we bring those costs on to employers or insurance companies. So those are our 3 official formal partners, and we want to thank them for joining us so early in our journey. We have some emergent partners as well. I'd like to talk about TELUS now. TELUS, we've been working with Jen from TELUS to imagine how they might help us digitize our training so that we can offer family stewards training to family stewards and to families. So there's a fund that we'll apply to that opens in September. But really our big hope with TELUS is that they're our first employer partner where they actually provide family stewards to their staff. And they do that through their health benefits. They've also mentioned that they've had previous experience bringing care provisions that they want to offered to their employees through their health insurance provider, which is a dream for us to see Family Stewards as an insurable benefit, that folks can have their insurance company cover our costs. So with their advocacy and their delivery mechanism, we could be to scale with Family Stewards rather, relatively soon, so that digitizing of our offerings is really important. Which brings me to talking about what do we have as products and services to offer today, and how do we get ourselves being able to share those while we're waiting for Family Stewards to train. So Erin and I met and did some strategy work around communications and how do we tell people about where we're at in our journey. Of course, we still don't have a place to operate out of. We are still seeking a legacy property. Asking for a gift that size is going to take anybody with that asset months to determine if this is something they have to give, and then to socialize that with their families and meet with their wills and estates lawyers and paper the agreement. So this isn't something that happens accidentally. It's going to require a lot of continued communications. We're grateful we have our video to help tell that story in rooms we're not in, and many of the people who are endorsing our work and supporting our work are sharing that amongst their channels. We know that that's true for the Victoria Hospitals Foundation. We know that's true for the BC Women's Health Health Fund. We know that that's true for our friends up in Nanaimo territory at Nest, who provide perinatal outreach supports for folks in that territory. They're sharing our asks and signing up to be writing letters of support for grants to obtain that property. So we have a lot of irons in the fire and a lot of supporters helping us find that property, but of course it's going to be a major gift and it's going to take time. So we do need some new, fresh ideas to keep that story alive and top of mind in our community, so that, you know, if there's municipal decision makers that stumble upon properties and or know of things that are being built, that they can maybe put an earmark for this development in their budgets, or bring this up as an election issue, or find ways that people who don't have an entire property to give but have more of a cash donation possibility, that we can re-engage those people. I have not yet met with a lot of folks that are high net worth individuals. I've been meeting a lot with foundations, so some private donors, and a switch there may be relevant to us in the winter months. Looking forward to development in the second half of 2026, I will put a continued emphasis on protocol work. We've done protocol work with the Esquimalt Nations, and we've been building alongside Songhee's maternal health team and the South Island Indigenous midwives. But there are many nations on southern Vancouver Island who we have not done protocol visits with. It's on my heart to do that this fall. I hope to come with gifts to share before I do this work. So it will begin post my moose hunting trip this summer. So hopefully I'm blessed with something to provide the community in our efforts of doing that. That brings me to signaling that we are looking to work with folks that convene South Island Indigenous communities, like the Southern Indigenous Prosperity folks and with Saanich Leadership Council. So we've been putting our feelers out to them and asking for invitation to come and share about our work and ensure that people feel invited into this. That will also become more true when school returns in September, because then we'll be engaging with the First Peoples House and working to hire an elder to guide our work through the community-based research project. And working with elders through the First Peoples House is a nice way for us to engage with all of the communities, because they are hired to represent those communities. And then we know they're being paid for that work while they work with us. And our research has been designed to fund their wisdom and their time as well. So that feels really good on my heart. What else is there to share? We continue to be engaged for care provisions, folks asking for family stewards. At this time, I'm not providing those services because juggling between the two has felt overwhelming, and like building the ship and trying to sail a ship at the same time is a little bit too much for my capacity and my spoon limits. So I'm continuing to refer folks who are inquiring to the Wise Council and other known and trusted birth workers in our community while we figure out the mechanics of our offering. It's really hard to provide care and then say we're going to change the costs and the business model in that moment. And I don't want to under deliver with families while my brain and my heart is here. That being said, 6 months of working without pay has brought a bit of tension to this work for me. It tells me that it's time for me to take a break and, make sure that I'm only coming to this work with a full heart and two willing hands. And right now I'm feeling a bit dismayed that we can have so much potential progress and so many commitments, and yet finding core funding remains a challenge. To date, we've done $2.5 million in grant writing and have only received the $25,000 SHIRK grant. So looking for funding to continue to pay for the development of this work is on my mind, and we will continue to seek your help connecting us to sources of that fund. Remembering that we are a Métis-owned organization, so we are not eligible for any funds earmarked for First Nations groups. We do not have the mandate of a nation. So many grants that we're looking at right now we're not eligible for. So finding a nation who would partner with us so that they can help provide that level of support while we do development work is also a strategic necessary relationship for us to build moving forward. So my hope is that with the community-based research that we're doing, we might establish those relationships in earned ways that a nation would then say, I've seen what you're doing and how this is going to benefit my people. I would like to sign on to be a stewarding nation of this work and help obtain those kinds of development dollars. So that is a hope of ours. To that end, we want to work with all folks that may have a mandate for maternal and neonatal care and family care. I've had a successful meeting with Métis Nation BC. They're imagining themselves as perhaps a partner that would want to provide indigenization efforts to our curriculum. They've provided really helpful feedback that delivering our curriculum and our training of family stewards could be done kind of in a unique way with each organizer, but in a consistent way across them. So what are the ways that we bring family stewardship to different nations without pan-indigenizing that work, and then actually providing service provisions to that nation to make it culturally relevant to them, and then bake that into their unique curriculum that only they own, and then can deliver with the family stewards we train in partnership with them. So that was really helpful, useful feedback. And we're really grateful for Métis Nations BC's awareness of our work and the offer to really share our efforts within all of the different communities they serve and the different departments that they have. Many of our partners have spoke about their ability to go to government, either the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of Education, or the Ministry of Indigenous Services, to ask for funding to explore their partnership with us. So I think that is going to be one of the ways that instead of building more partnerships, we try and get deeper with the partners that we do have, as a way to just not stretch ourselves too thin, but also to really honor the relationships that we already have. So that will be some of the ways that we think about guiding our work for the second part of 2026. And then the last, I think, thing to share is that communicating all of these efforts, these founder videos will do that. Our Wise Council will continue to meet monthly. We'll meet monthly with all of our partners. But we also want to increase our digital footprint and work smarter, not harder. So I'm really grateful to a communication strategy from Erin, where we'll have like a weekly feature using our 7 thresholds from birthing and ceremony to becoming ancestors, and then lean on our Wise Council to contribute some content under all of those different thresholds, so that folks are and interested in end of life or coming of age can start to contribute on our social channels, which will keep the community alive, distribute some work, and increase our visibility in communities. So I'm grateful to explore what that could look like and how we continue to manage this work in a way that is really effective and with ease. So I'm also grateful to Mal, who's been working on building a back end for Family Stewards on our Google Drive that's organized and well hosted. I'm also grateful to Steph, who has been helping us financially. We got advice, some free advice from Heather Barnhouse at Denton's law firm about how we stand up the different parts of our work. Koya Productions being our for-profit company that builds our curriculum, leased by the Family Stewardship Centre, deployed by family stewards in our association. So all of those legal entities, the governance of our work has been reviewed by a lawyer. We will continue to advance that work in good time. I want to align our governance model to UNDRIP and do the protocol work to walk those governance models into our community in a good way, and we're hopeful that the Victoria Foundation's Sector Resilience Fund will fund that work with another $25,000 check, which seems likely based on the conversations we're having with the team over at Victoria Foundation now, but has not been confirmed yet. We were also waiting on feedback from MIT Solve. We were not a semi-finalist or a finalist. They've now produced the finalist results without communicating to any of the applicants. So by way of no communication, we now know the answer of that. So while we were a semi-finalist last year, we did not hold that status this year. And so building up the platforming and the app and the way that family stewards and families find each other will remain one of the things we need to solve for, and I think will be really important to get right. In that way, we will apply for the Indigenous Venture Challenge to bring on some development dollars to think about that deployment. And something that goes really alongside that is we have been welcomed into the Persons Project. The Persons Project is a project to ensure that women's health data is collected and researched in Canada, and that there becomes a new ontology for measuring health that better reflects women's and female-bodied people's that doesn't exist today. We are now a contributor of building that ontology. So what are the questions your doctor is going to ask you when you go to the doctor's office that's going to really make sure that we are understanding where you're at in your development over your life cycle? So we're really excited about that because it brings Indigenous perspectives and vulnerable sectors into the table. But it also means that whatever changes for Canada will have influence on, and then what happens at Canada will actually happen across all of the European Union, and that's an extraordinary amount of systemic impact. Our main thesis is that a woman's health is not separate from her family's health, and the Western model wants to break us into parts and see that as the whole, but we'll never understand what a woman needs if we don't understand the kin that she is responsible for, and whether or not she's resourced to meet their needs, and whether she has the authority to meet their needs. And of course, the Western model only paints our family by biological unit. So how do we make sure that, those that we're fostering or adopting or that we didn't birth are also seen as part of our family's health picture? So family stewards are building our own ontology of family health, which is to say, how do we measure if family's working well in a healthy way? I'm very excited about some of the work that we're doing there because that builds the tooling that goes into a family steward's pocket, and it also gives us something very unique that we use to meet and understand a family, but also understand how to triage their needs against another's, and help them paint a map of the health and well-being of their family now and over time into the future. So that is some big infrastructural work, not something we saw coming, but because of the invitation to participate and the national reach and then the international implications of this work, and to sit at tables with folks who are trying to ensure that female health is measured and improved, is a good place for the Family Stewardship Centre to find itself at a really key point in time. So we hope that comes with some funding to support that ontology's development, and there may be some interest in that. So we'll cross our fingers and hope that really translates. What I want to also share is what we're saying no to, or what we are putting on pause for now. When we began this work, we put a lot of feelers out into our community. We planted a lot of seeds to see what would bloom. Every seed we've planted as an idea that we could contribute to this community, somebody has put water on it and said, we want to grow this plant. That includes building a TV show, that includes building a radio show, that includes writing a book. We are going to put those 3 strategies down for now. Building out the curriculum for family stewards and deploying that training into our community is far more of a heavy piece to put on the side of our theory of change teeter-totter than that content. I think that content will always be valuable, and it'll come once we've done this kind of infrastructure work, but maybe too much for me to manage right now, despite how exciting it feels. I think the excitement of that can be put back for the importance of prioritizing building out the business model and the training that will allow all of this to continue to rise long after our hands are at the table working this stuff. So knowing what we're saying no to so that we can say yes to the things that matter most, I think, is an important recognition of our spoons and our capacity and our interest level. And Rogers needed some time because they're restructuring, and UVic needs some time because it's the summer months. So it feels like the right time to just say not yet. And the book will continue to be supported by the curriculum development that we're doing. So we're in no rush to put the horse before the cart on that one. So that is an overview of what we've been working on. The last thing I'll share with our community is that we do have a new Family Stewards brochure. In it, you'll find our mission and our vision, a bit about our team, where we're going and how we got there, an overview of all of the activities and the thresholds that we support, kind of where the current state of play is around supporting families, and where we want to go and what will happen if we are supported to do that. All of our partners are being named now specifically in their efforts and who we want to partner with and why. And this back is no longer up to date, but the digital version is who we've been endorsed by, who we're collaborating with, and where we find ourselves belonging as members. So excited to see this. It's beautiful. Our intention here is to provide these to our partners digitally so they can share their work around their water coolers and within their respective spheres of influence. We also want to leave these behind at wills and estates lawyers so that families who are thinking about providing care to the next generation can invest in a family steward as a legacy gift for their family, which solves for how do we make this gainful employment. If birth workers don't want to be in the business of birthing, then maybe wills and estates lawyers handles the finding the costs and deploying them into our system so that family stewards just get to take care of families and not sell themselves. So that is something we'll explore this fall, is how to ready that once the business model becomes clear and we know what to ask for a lifetime contribution of family stewardship from someone who wants to leave that as a legacy for their kin. So that is a 30-minute founders update from yours truly, Jace Poirier Lacerte. It's been an honor to be the founder and vision keeper for this work. It's been an honor to see how it's impacting people. There hasn't been a call we've taken where someone didn't say, ooh, I feel this in my bones, or, oh, I wish I had had a family steward for when I was birthing my family, or I wish I had a family steward now as we're dealing with, aging parents or menopause or our youth transitioning into adulthood. So we know the need is there. Over 222 people have subscribed to follow our work and register to know when our programs will become available. That's significant. Only 1,200 babies are born in this region every year. So if 222 families are interested in our work, that's a good third of folks that, or sorry, not a third, but a good chunk of folks really identifying that they see value in this work. I hope, I pray, I continue to fest for legacy property to find us. Even I am suffering from feeling like I've asked the same question a lot, but I encourage you to continue to share that video into your regular social media feeds, add it to your email signature, put it in your newsletter, talk to your neighbors about it. I think there may be some other ways that we could like poster or do some door knocking in the fall that's a little bit more organic and about community building. I'm also curious about how our Moose Feast might be able to be used as a fundraiser this year to bring some provisions to the center for us to continue to do this work. So any idea that you have, any gift that you have to share to help us continue to birth this very needed solution into our community, we'll welcome it. And I think with that, we'll leave it with thank you to Check News, because they've now held up our work twice, once to say that we're looking for the property and once to say that we're the answer to the harms that are happening to Indigenous peoples in the system today. And that kind of coverage is just so important to our efforts, and it helps us feel validated and encouraged to continue. So I see this as a beacon of hope. Building villages while empires crumble around us is a way that we protect ourselves, we take care of ourselves, we self-determine a future that we can believe in. And I believe in the consequences of your actions, and I believe in the consequences of my actions. And together I think we are doing something really beautiful that our ancestors and our relatives today can be proud of. So I just want to encourage you to keep that fire in your heart alive, and follow my leadership. As if you're feeling tired or taxed by this work, it's okay to take your hands off the wheel and say, I don't have spoons for this right now, so that when you do come back, your spoons are full of love and no resentment or contempt, because we need to do this work with good spirit, good mind, good heart, and gentle hands. And so with that, I will sign off and say thank you. I will acknowledge that I'm here in Lekwungen speaking territory, home of the Kaseps and Songhees nations. I'm learning so much about how to be in good work in good way with this land in these seasons, and this is a time to harvest and to be out on the land. And I think she will continue to guide me once I'm out on the Inta, out on the Nuna, to really see where we need to go next. So thank you, Marcy, Gila Kasla, Kleko Kleko, Haichka, Nakamik. Really grateful. Marcy, Masicho, all my relations.